Hi, everybody. It's Paul Kurlanchik here again with part two of It's Not Your Fault. Last time we talked a little bit about my upbringing and what was going on in the first few years of my life, and prior to that, in my mother's belly when I was in my when she was in her third trimester, and months 8, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And at that time, I'm not sure you're aware of it, but you start to be able to hear as a baby. You start to recognize mother's voice. And in cases where it's soothing, it's something that is pleasant and you want to have more of. In cases where she's in distress and maybe fighting with somebody, you want less of. It's just an instinct that's inside of us. It's not anything that has to do with cognitive reasoning. It's just an instinct. If there's yelling and a lot of disorder in the house, you're going to pick that up. And you're going to pick it up on different levels, on many different levels, not just the auditory level. You're going to pick it up on the chemical level because your mother's going to go into distress. So why am I telling you this? I guess I have to go to the end of the story, which is at the point where there might be a day where you're just going to stop for a moment and say, how did I get to where I am now? How did I get to be this person that I've become? A lot of us would, if things are going well, we're celebrating, this is great. But there are a lot of us on this planet who aren't celebrating. They're not celebrating our life. I was an addict. I became an addict. That was one of the things that happened to me because of my childhood. And it's going to make sense to you. I'm going to explain to you exactly how I got to where I got. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a very short part of the story right now. There wasn't any joy in my life. There was no joy as a child. I was born with an issue of digestive system issue. And first 2 years, I was suffering. They thought I wasn't even going to make it. I had a chronic diarrhea. And that got resolved at the age of 2, at the end of my second year on the planet. Because the first 2 years are really difficult. And there was an incident when I was 2 years old where I lived back in, I was born in 1946. So it was back in the day when we had radiators in the house. A lot of you don't even know what a radiator is, probably. But they were filled with water. The furnace down in the basement would heat up the water. It would push the water through to all the different rooms of the house. And occasionally you'd have to release some of the pressure in that radiator by taking some of the water out. And you had to throw it away. Well, my mother tells the story of she took the water out of the radiator and somehow stumbled while she was carrying this uh, water and spilled it on me. So I got scalding hot water across my face and across my chest and shoulder. Well, immediately, took control of the situation and got baking soda and put it on my face to see if we can keep it from scarring. But she didn't think to take the shirt off, which was holding the hot water against my skin. So I still have a scar I'm carrying on my shoulder. So age 2, I have my second most traumatic event in my life. Well, I'm a Jewish person, so at age 8 days, what they do is they circumcise us. They take this little baby who's 8 days old. They give him some wine on a tissue to hope that wine will kill the pain, and they cut off part of the foreskin of the penis. Well, again, in a world where we're trying to learn to trust their environment, this is not a trusting event. I said this last week, and I'm going to repeat it though, because it's worth repeating. Is like I also came from a family that didn't touch, so there's no chance my mother was ever going to breastfeed any of us. I'm sure we all grew up on formula, and for all I know, is I may have been allergic to that formula the first 2 years, and that's why I was sick for it. It could easily have been the reason. So things are going bad, and things are going bad, and then mom and dad are workaholics, so they're never home, and I'm being raised by a housekeeper that doesn't particularly like boys. I'll go into that story later. I'm going to get to that part of the story where I'm 4 or 5 years old, and I there's no joy. There is no joy in this life. There's none. There's no family interconnection. We don't touch each other. We don't really. I have 2 older sisters, and they're not really in my life. They have their own. They've bonded together. They're both 4 and 8 years older than me, so they've bonded together. They don't want to take care of a 4-year-old, whatever I am. So 4, 5, 6 years old, I find candy. And I go, wow, candy. This tastes good. This feels good. I've been eating, vegetables and all the other things that are fed to you people for their meals. But dessert comes and I taste sweets. And that's it. I'm off and running. And I get addicted to the sugar. I get addicted to the feel good aspect of the sugar. Now, is anybody out there want to blame me for that? If there's nothing in your life that feels good and somebody finally found and I finally found something that feels good, I got addicted to it. Well, how do you know it's an addiction? Well, an addiction, one of the qualities of an addiction is I can't stop doing it. Number one, that's the most important one. But number two is there's negative consequences coming from it, and I don't care. I'm just going right past the negative consequences, and I'm just pouring in soda, ice cream, cakes, candy. I live near a corner grocery store. Back in the day, we had corner grocery stores, and they had a candy counter, a penny candy counter. Candy was a penny, 1 cent. That's all you had to have. And I knew where my dad would sit. His coins would often fall into the chair, and I'd put my hand down in the chair. I became an addict instantly. I mean, I knew exactly how to get the money that you needed to get the product that you wanted. And so I take his pennies over to the grocery store and I buy, you could buy sugar on a string. It was literally called rock candy. It was just sugar on a string. And that was a penny. So I get fat because I'm eating all this sugar. And the consequences of that are now nobody wants me on their team. Nobody wants me to play ball with them. I'm getting ridiculed because I'm a fat kid. I have to go to the fat kids department of the men's clothing store or the kids' clothing store. They would call it a stout or something like that. They didn't call it fat, but it was some other name that was equally as demoralizing. And God forbid we played basketball during recess in our gym class, and they would have half the team would wear a shirt, and the other half of the team would have to take their shirt off. I can't tell you how many times I went into terror because I didn't want to have to take my shirt. Really, I mean, think about it. It's all because of the food and the candy, but I can't stop using it because it's the only thing I got in my life that makes me feel good. Now, these progress, and there are many of you out there that probably have your own addiction, that you found your own feel good. And that feel good became really important to you because in your own situation, maybe there was a lot of issues going on in your life, a lot of dysfunction in your family, or a lot of yelling and screaming, or drunks or drug addicts or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of things happening in families, and they're not all feel good family stories. So, where I'm going with this is like, it's how could it be anybody's fault that we ended up where we are? So maybe I can just encourage you to just stop and take a look at what your life is. And if you want to be a great father, but for some reason you can't be a great father because you're undependable, because you're drinking too much, or drugs have become more important than your family, or pornography has become more important than your family, or gambling is more important than your family. There's plenty out there. I know people that they had very little food in their house because mom or dad was a gambling addict. It's not a drug. It's not something that, it's not something you put in your arm or take in your mouth or smoke. But there's plenty of addictions out there. And if you got one of those addictions, there's a good chance that it was a feel good that you needed to make everything okay in your life because things weren't okay. Because when things got quiet and you looked inside, there was a lot of pain there. And I know people that are addicted to being busy because they just don't want to take the time to look at their life. They stay busy morning, noon, and night. They got plans around the clock, literally. So they have an 8-hour day job, and then they got a job before work for 3 hours, maybe going to the gym to work exercise, and then they have a 3 hour, and then they might have a 3 hour commitment after work of being a coach. I know people like that, and it's all in. It's this is what it's all about, folks. It's pretty simple. When we're children and we're in an uncomfortable place, a really uncomfortable place. Again, there's fighting going on. There's all kinds of, it may not be it's probably not your family's fault. They probably grew up in the same kind of situation that you're in. But in any case, you can't find a comfort zone anywhere. There's no comfort zone in your house. There's no place to go to be comfortable. You can't say to mom, could you hold me for a while? You can't go to anybody when you have an emotional problem because they don't want to hear about it. They got all their own stuff going on. Mom might have 3 kids or 4 kids or 2 kids, and one of them, one kid in the family has a problem, and they're getting all the attention. It's not, it's just what it is. It's the circumstances of your life. Now you can blame God, you can blame your family, you can blame anybody you want, but that's not really going to help you heal. And that's why I'm here. I want to help you to determine what is a healthy comfort zone for you to go into. Drugs and booze are not a healthy, even if it's weed. I mean, marijuana is very popular right now. It's free. It's not free, but it's legal in a lot of places, and it's free to grow in a lot of places. And it's becoming the drug of choice. Well, it's taking away your pain. Yes, I understand that it's taking away your pain. It's not helping you heal the root of your pain, the cause of your pain. And eventually that weed is not going to work anymore. And then you're going to have to add something to it. Let me help you find a healthy comfort zone for you to be in. I offer a couple of things. I'm going to just make an announcement here. I just wanted you to know I'm offering you a couple of things. Number one is if you start to feel comfortable with me and you think that I can be helpful to you, set up an appointment for a 20-minute talk. There's no charge for it. If I can't help you, I'll tell you right off the bat, I can't help you. And I might be the right fit for me, and you may not be the right fit for me. I'll know that, and you'll know that. But we are a fit. I can help you find these pathways because I've had to do it for myself. Find these pathways out of very difficult childhood situations that gave me a lens to see my life in a certain way that is not healthy for me, and it's bringing me the wrong results. Just look at your results. If your results aren't the one you want, there's a good chance you just don't have the right pathway to get there. Okay. Thank you.